welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to my monthly vlog for the month of October 2024. Where are we today? Well, this isn't the location of where I'm going to be doing the vlog. I've arrived in the city of Salisbury in the county of Wiltshire. Just got off the train there. As I walked past the train, yes, as you guess, it's a foggy day here. I'm here at Cathedral Close. As I walked past the train station going, I think it's called Fisherton. There's a railway bridge there, isn't there? Lots of junctions, railways join up here. So I got off the train at Salisbury railway station and yes, I walked past Paddington Bear, who happened to be sitting outside of the old hospital building there, eating one of his sandwiches, famous sandwiches. I love that, just on the seat there. That behind me there though is Montpesson House, which I went to a few years ago. Not done a YouTube video about it though, but yeah, it's a National Trust place house here in Salisbury. Well, what I'm going to be doing though, hoping that the fog is going to lift, is going to be jumping on a bus. I think they're called Salisbury Reds in this area, not sure why, but yeah, Salisbury Red bus to the town of Wilton, which lies just 3 miles to the west here of the city of Salisbury. Now, Wilton used to be the county town of Wiltshire. I'm not sure why, after it was relinquished, it no longer became the county town. It didn't transfer to here, to the neighbouring city, which would make more sense, it being a city, the only city in Wiltshire, but it isn't. It's actually the county town of Trowbridge, which I passed through on the train this morning, which lies further to the north of here. Anyway, I need to get some coffee, jump on that bus, and I'll see you in Wilton shortly. Well, I couldn't leave Salisbury without putting in the obligatory shot of the cathedral. But yes, as you can see, it's a very, very foggy day here. Bit of damp drifting on the trees behind me. It's not actually rain, it's just very damp conditions with the fog, but it should burn off for later, hopefully by the time we get to Wilton. Well, that's the plan anyway. I have been here before. I've done a vlog with Louise from Southwest Sundays here. I think it was about this time last year actually, but yeah, it's not to Salisbury we're going to today. I need to get some coffee and hop on that bus. See you in a bit. So here I am here in Wilton, the town centre offices just behind me here, literally 3 miles away from the city of Salisbury, and there's a frequent bus service courtesy of Salisbury Reds. I think it's like every 20 minutes. It goes on to the Park and Ride, which is just situated outside of the town here of Wilton, and it drops you right next to the marketplace. And next to the marketplace, which we'll have a look at shortly, is a church, not the main one that's now in the care of the Conservation Trust that looks after churches. I think it opens at 10 a.m. Anyway, we're here in Wilton, which used to be the ancient capital of Wessex around the late 1800s? No, definitely not. The late 800s even. So it has a huge significance. Obviously, Salisbury dominates its bigger neighbour, mainly because of the cathedral. Of course, the cathedral was originally sited over at Old Sarum, which is a couple of miles north of the city. But another Salisbury, we're not here at Salisbury, we're here to look at the town of Wilton and also to have a look at what's been happening on the channel here on West Country Wanderings and reading out the very best of your comments, and also looking forward to what's going to be happening in the month of November. So I hope you can join me again. Now, this delightful little quiet lane down here next to the town council offices is known as Penny's Lane. No, not Penny Lane as in the Beatles and Liverpool, but Penny's Lane here in Wilton. I'm going to go on down there for a little bit of wander, and I'll try and find somewhere nice and quiet to tell you more about this town and also the many interesting features that it has around here. Apologies for the traffic noise, but this behind me is the Pembroke Arms, and there's a significance in why it's called Pembroke. Nothing to do with Pembrokeshire in West Wales, but something that's over the other side of that wall, and I'll tell you all about that shortly. Well, I've now come round to Kingsbury Square, and over the other side of those houses there is Wilton House and Wilton Park, which occupies an enormous area of the town. It's sadly closed at the moment. It's got some beautiful gardens there, and it's where the Earls of Pembroke, hence the name of the inn we just saw there, were based. and it dominates the town because there's a wall all the way around it, so you can't walk across it. I think there's a right of way further on down, so if I do get time to head down that way later on, we'll have a look at that. But yes, so that's Wilton House and Wilton Park, and I think there's an arch, so we'll see if we can get round there and have a look at that arch now. So behind this impressive gate lies Wilton House. It's only open during the summer months. It's famous for its spectacular gardens, and it was actually built on the site of Wilton Abbey, which was a Benedictine abbey which ran from around the 1000s right up to the dissolution of the monasteries in the 1500s. And this here was then the seat of the Earls of Pembroke. Lots more to tell you about that as we go on. I'll find somewhere quieter, but needless to say, as you can probably imagine, it's been used many times for filming, not just for YouTubers coming here to do monthly vlogs, but Sense and Sensibility was partially filmed here, as was indeed Blackadder and many other TV and film dramas as well. So this river behind me is the River Wylye, and the town of Wilton sits on the junction where two rivers meet. This one, the River Wylye, which rises near the Dorset border, and the River Nadder, and they are both chalk streams. One of those very precious rivers which are important to the habitats of this part of this West Country, vital. They also encourage brown trout to flourish in them as well. But that's not the only thing that Wilton is a junction of. There's two more things. It's a junction of two important roads. The A36, which is the road that heads north from Wilton towards Warminster and the city of Bath, and the A30, which is the main road between Penzance and London. If that wasn't enough, there's also two railways that meet here. The main line heading south from Bath and Westbury, which is where I came down from today, joining just outside of the town here, and it joins up with the West of England main line. That's the main line that goes between Exeter and London Waterloo. In fact, Salisbury is a bit of a railway hub. It still is. It's not as strategically as important as it used to be back in the 50s and 60s, but it still has substantial maintenance sheds courtesy of South Western Railway. Sadly, the two stations that Wilton had, Wilton North and Wilton South, they closed. Well, one of them closed in the 1950s. I think it was the GWR one on the Westbury line, and the other one on the West of England main line closed, I believe, around 1966. So what's been happening on West Country Wanderings for the month of October? Well, I produced 12 videos in total, including last month's vlog, which obviously I didn't mention in last month's vlog. It's been a difficult month for filming in terms of weather. It's been a very wet month, and as I record this on the, what date is it today? It's towards the end of October anyway. There's a few more days left in the month. There's a lot of flooding around, particularly around the Severn Valley, the usual favourites, Bewdley, Tewkesbury, Upton, Gloucester. Lots of flooding around those places, which has meant that I've not been able yet to film part 2 of the Geopark Way. Weather willing, I hope to do that and bring that to you if we have some dry days later on in November, but I'm not making any promises. Anyway, that aside, what did happen this month? Well, the first video was the monthly vlog for September, and for that I went into Worcestershire to the lovely town of Oldchurch, which lies on the canal, the Worcester-Birmingham Canal to be precise. I had a great comment on that video from Michael Pilling in Poland. Hi Michael, always great to hear from you. And Michael writes, "Greetings from Poland, a lovely video. Thanks for the mention. I'm looking forward to October's video, so I hope you enjoyed them, Michael. One small request. Will it be possible for you to revisit your local wood in Gloucestershire? We've been there to see the changes of the seasons, and I was wondering what it looks like now in autumn. Well, thanks very much for that request, Michael. Now recently I did, after receiving your comment, do a recce there to go and have a look and see what the autumnal colours are like, because colours change over the region that I do and they vary. I remember when I was in Devon this month, earlier on in the month, and autumn seemed to have landed that earlier than what it has here in both Wiltshire and where I live in Gloucestershire. Now when I went to look at that wood about a week ago now, it wasn't quite ready for autumn, but rest assured I do have plans to return to that wood again in the month of November to bring you a video from there. So thanks for that, Michael. Now in the West Country Wanderings regions there are several heritage lines. There's actually a couple that we haven't yet to visit, like the Helston Railway in West Cornwall and the Swanage Railway, which come to mind. However, the ones that are quite close to me, like the Severn Valley Railway, the Dean Forest Railway and the Gloucestershire and Warwickshire Steam Railway, which doesn't go to Warwickshire, excuse the trains in the background. I returned there to have a trip on the train to Broadway, that most loveliest of Cotswold villages in Worcestershire. It was a fabulous day. I had a great comment on that video, and that was from Philip Pankhurst. This highlights why the GWSR is such an outstanding railway. The pristine condition of their Mark I coaches is thanks to a small army of volunteer carriage and wagon restorers at the Winchcombe base, while an even smaller platoon are recreating a masterpiece from nothing at Broadway Station. I think we saw them at platform 2 as you're left. Nice shot of the Usk weighbridge that was transported and recreated at Winchcombe Station and looking as if it had been born here. Thank you very much for a great comment there, Philip. Appreciate that. Now just over there you'll be able to see the tower of an Italianate church. That's the parish church here of Wilton. It didn't used to be, it was actually built in the 19th century. It has an interesting history and I'll tell you about that in a moment. But in the marketplace, when I got off the bus from Salisbury here, I noticed there was an earlier church there. So I hope to pop in there later today and show you around that. But what about this church and who built it and why? Well, it's a Grade 1 listed church of St Mary and St Nicholas, designed by Thomas Wyatt. But of course, that sort of architecture costs a lot of money. So where did that money come from? Well, you're probably already ahead of me. What's the most famous building in Wilton? Yes, of course, Wilton House. And it came from there, but indirectly. The benefactor was one Catherine Herbert and her son Sidney Herbert. But Catherine Herbert had connections to a Russian ambassador, and I can't remember his name, so I do apologise me while I look at my notebook of this. It's Smgon, I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation, Semgon Vorontsov, and as I say, he was the Russian ambassador in London, and he had connections to Catherine Herbert, and they stumped up the money to build this magnificent Italianate church here in the town of Wilton in Wiltshire. So that's over where we were just now, by the River Wylye on the edge of the town. The two actually join up in the grounds of Wilton House itself. I'll come on to in a minute. You're probably thinking way ahead of me what Wilton is probably most famous for. I'll give you a clue. Another town in Devon, Axminster. There's a connection. But before I talk about that, what was the next video that landed on the channel here on West Country Wanderings in the month of October? As well as looking at lost railway walks, doing my railway discovery series. There was one of those in the video in the month as well. But I also do occasionally, when it happens, looking at new stations that have opened. And this is the third station I've looked at since I've been doing West Country Wanderings, and that station was Ashley Down, a suburb in the northern parts of Bristol to the south of the town of Filton, which lies in South Gloucestershire. So it lies on what is known as the Filton Bank, the 4-track lines, but 2 of them are for suburban services. And it will continue on, it does continue on to Filton Abbey Wood, but later on it will continue on to what is known as the Hembury Loop. Had some great comments on that, and it was really good atmosphere there on opening day. Normally I don't I shy away of filming those sort of things on opening day because they get very busy. But I decided to pop up there on opening day, and a great comment on that video from Marilyn Balderston. Hi Marilyn, always great to hear from you. I know you're a real big railway buff fan. Your knowledge is outstanding of all things railways. And Marilyn writes, so nice to see some progress on the railway system down south. I used to go up and down that line so much and always thought that there was something missing. Indeed so, Marilyn. Bristol is a very green city, it is indeed. And I hope Portishead will eventually open to passengers too. More about Portishead in a bit. Such a boom for commuters and just what railways are meant for. I couldn't agree more, Marilyn. Thanks very much for a great comment. Also this month we had a return to Gloucester Docks. It was a bit of an impromptu video, this one, because I had a message from my YouTube pal Louise, who runs a channel called Southwest Sundays, and she realised that she hadn't made any videos from the county of Gloucestershire yet. So she decided to book herself in a hotel in the city of Gloucester just for a couple of nights and had a look around the city as well. So I thought I'd meet up with her there, and we did a collab video there looking at Gloucester. I think she's got one coming up in the Cotswolds at a later date, so look out for that one over on Southwest Sundays. But it was good to be back in Gloucester again, looking around Gloucester Docks. There's always something new that I haven't seen there before, so yeah, I really enjoyed making that collab there. And also later this month, well, in the next couple of days in fact, I'll be doing another collab with some other YouTubers, and the video for that will be landing in November, so look out for that one as well. Great comment on that from Anita from the channel I Am a Dutch Kiwi. I so understand why you return to such a place of great interest. There is so much more to tell, and I sometimes want to retrace myself too. The world is so full of interesting and worthwhile places to explore in depth. A great rebuild of that warehouse. Thank you very much for that, Anita. And all of the YouTubers I've mentioned today that have written comments, I'll put links to in the description of today's video. That's a great comment, Anita. Thanks very much. And thank you to Louise, who joined me in that video as well. And she did a video looking around Gloucester. And so she'll have one coming up in a place in the Cotswolds soon. Thanks. Now, one of the things that Wilton is famous for, probably the most famous thing, is of course carpets. Well, how did that come about? Well, it was because the town had a number of weaving industries that started around the 1600s, and the reason for that, I think, is because they would have had mills in the area because of the two rivers, the Wylye and the Nadder, being chalk stream, were suitable for powering mills and also for washing and cleaning the cloth. So that trade sprung up. It expanded in the 1700s because of Henry Herbert, who was the 9th Earl of Pembroke. And he wanted to get the folk of Wilton to get a new trade. So what he did was he brought some people over from France, some French weavers indeed, here to this town in Wiltshire to teach them a trade. And yes, that's how the carpet trade here in Wilton started. It expanded greatly, in fact, in 1835, when some new equipment, or then new equipment, was brought over from Axminster in Devon, which has already had a long-standing carpet tradition. And in 1900, a new factory was built because it then became the Royal Wilton Factory Company, or Carpet Company, indeed. That building still survives, but sadly it closed as a factory for making carpets in 1995, and carpets are no longer produced here in the town of Wilton. But the building lives on. I'm going to have a look at that now, so probably appearing on the screen now will be some photographs of how the building looks now, because it's now a shopping centre, similar to how the Swindon Works has been repurposed in Swindon, which I saw the other day in another video I did that landed this month. Oh, in case you're wondering what this building is behind me, it's a sports pavilion here on the edge of the sports and recreation ground here by the river, just on the edge of the town centre. So it's a great place to come. It's nice, quiet, away from the traffic as well. So nice, quiet place to come and film. The next video was one in my Cotswold Walk series. In fact, it's got a fairly lengthy title. It's called Car Free 3. and Cotswold Walks 24. So it's the 24th video that I've done of Cotswold Walks, and the third one I've done in my car-free walk series, if that makes sense, in the Cotswolds. So this time I caught the train to the town of Evesham in Worcestershire, and then I caught a bus to the village of Beckford, which lies on the foothills of Breedon Hill, also in the Cotswolds. Did a circular walk around there, most of a delightful place. The only problem with that video was, yes, rain. It had been forecast to be dry. I booked my tickets, planned the day, film, got everything set up. That evening, the weather forecast changed, but I thought, I've already got my ticket now and I've already set aside a day for doing that particular thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and did it. Unfortunately, the rain just did not stop all day, it just came down, but I persevered with it and had to utilise church porches and other kinds of things to try and keep dry as best I could. Anyway, I had a great comment on that video from Malcolm Richardson. Hi Malcolm, it was great to hear from you. Thank you for a walk to lift the spirits on a very wet day. Indeed it was. The views over the Vale of Evesham towards the distant hills were worth the long climb in the rain. Good to see signs of a revival of rural bus services in that part of the Cotswolds. Though I was surprised to see it was half hourly. I was as well. That's pretty frequent service, isn't it? A pity it does not call at Ashchurch Station. Yes, that would have been useful actually if it does call there. Obviously, it leaves from Evesham town centre, not the railway station, so you have a bit of a walk into the town centre to pick the bus up, and then it goes on to the town of Tewkesbury, bypassing Ashchurch altogether, which kind of seems strange for a couple of reasons. There's a lot more housing in and around the town of Ashchurch now, and also there is going to be a new Cotswold village in terms of a shopping centre, not unlike the one at Bicester over in Oxfordshire, also on the edge of the Cotswolds. But it was a delightful walk. I enjoyed the walk. I just didn't enjoy the rain so much. But thanks very much for watching that video, and thank you very much, Malcolm, for your lovely comment. So I've now come round to the magnificent church of St Mary and St Nicholas. Just had the most incredible experience here. Just gone into the church. I'm just looking around there for a few minutes, taking some photographs just to show you now, so it'll be coming up on the screen. While I was in there was a gentleman come over and said, he said, excuse me, do you mind if I start playing the piano? And I was like, no, go ahead. Expect him just to tinkle the ivories. Wow, wow and wow. He started to play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Absolutely jaw-dropping. I'll share some of that with you now. The church here, St Mary and St Nicholas, here in Wilton, is absolutely jaw-dropping. If you have time to spare, if you ever come to visit the city of Salisbury, why not hop on a bus just for a couple of hours, they're frequent buses, and come here, because you will not be disappointed. It's really, really breathtaking church, amazing. And the town itself is well worth an explore in its own right. While I was walking to the church, there are a couple of things I noticed. There was a lady, I think she was called Maud Olivier, I've forgotten her first name, but she was the first female mayor of Wilton, but she also set up the Land Army here in Wiltshire. So yeah, I think she went on to become an authoress as well. So yeah, there's a house there, not Wilton House, I think it might be called Wilton Court, but yeah, right next to the church here. Also, when I was walking this way from the recreation ground when I was filming earlier on, I went past a felt factory, and I think that is like a legacy of the carpet trade here. So it's good to see there is still a factory from those early weavers back in the 1600s still plying their trade here, still manufacturing here in the town of Wilton. Just come round to a quiet lane about a quarter of a mile from the town centre here at Wilton. Passed through a place called St John's Square where there was, I think, some almshouses and a private chapel called St John's Chapel, which I don't seem to be able to find any information on at the moment. If I do, when I'm doing the edit, well, I'll do the usual thing with some scrolling information along the bottom of the screen. Well, what was the next video that happened on the channel? Well, it was the Portishead Railway Part 1. In fact, it was the most viewed video by some large margin on the channel this month. An incredible, well over 6,000 views, which is a heck of a lot for my little channel here in my tiny corner of YouTube on West Country Wanderings. So if you hadn't watched that, I really do appreciate it. And yes, there will be, of course, Part 2, which I do hope to film in November. So that will be coming up in the month of November, all being well. So the reception on that one it went down phenomenally. I've had loads and loads of comments, which I can't possibly read all out. But if you did comment on that video, I really do appreciate it. I had a great comment on it though. One of the many great comments on that video was from Graham Sinnott. After watching your previous video of Portishead, I decided to visit Portishead as it looks such an interesting place. I booked into the Ibis Hotel in April. I went to explore at the back of Sainsbury's too, and there were contractors there clearing the track. I also realised that my hotel had been built on the trackbed of the dock sidings. Well, thanks very much for that, Graham. And indeed, yes, Ibis Hotel, I had a look after your comment. Indeed, it was built on the dock sidings trackbed, Sainsbury's too, and saw what was there. But obviously, some of it had been taken up recently. And as I say, I understand that has now gone to good use at the Avon Valley Railway at Bitton in South Gloucestershire. Thanks very much for that comment. And as I say, part 2 will be coming up soon. Now, I like to intersperse the longer format videos, like the Portishead one, which I think was about 40 minutes long, with some shorter ones, because obviously Portishead, there's a lot of research, a lot of filming. It was a good filming day there, and also quite considerable time. I think it took me nearly 2 days to edit that video. In the evening though, I returned back to Bristol to catch my train back home again, and I did a little short video around Castle Park, which is where I had originally intended to complete the Severn Way, but it didn't happen. Well, you knew the reasons for that if you watched the end of the Severn Way video. However, I had a great comment on that video because it's such an interesting part of Bristol, and one I'd never been to before. It's the site of remains of Bristol Castle and 2 ruined churches that got bombed, sadly, during World War II. The comment comes from Nigel Price. So the bridge comment, it's quite a lengthy comment, so if you want to read the whole thing, go back and have a look at that video and you'll see it. I've pinned it at the comments there. I used to work in the building next to where you filmed the opening scenes to this little video. It was an insurance company in those days. The road bridge behind you suffered a direct hit in the war, and it severed the electricity cable for the tram network. For whatever reason, it was not reinstated, and that marked the end of the trams in Bristol. I didn't know that, so thank you very much, Nigel, for that comment. Sorry for the train that's just going past now. It's either going to Exeter or on to Salisbury, but so we're in the kind of triangle where the 2 lines join up, like I mentioned earlier. Well, that fog that we had, which was quite thick when I was outside of Salisbury Cathedral earlier this morning, it's now coming up to midday as I film, it's now lifting and the sun's just starting to break through and break up the cloud, which is always good to see. Before I go on to the next video, just a couple of bit of admin things really about the channel. First of all, if you're not already aware, I have a Facebook group also called West Country Wanderings, West Country all one word, space Wanderings. If you put that into your search in Facebook, it'll come up, and just request to join the group and I'll hop along and invite you into the group. And while you're there, you can then upload your own video clips and photographs of anywhere across the wider West Country, which goes from the tip of Land's End right up to the northern part of Worcestershire, across into West Herefordshire, down into Dorset, and all points in between, generally anywhere south of Birmingham and to the west of Oxford. I don't cover Wales. If you're new channel, just to explain why I don't cover Wales. Wales is a fantastic country, but it's a place unto itself really. Because I'm not from Wales, I'm not the best person to guide you through the country, because I don't have a great understanding of the culture, and also I can't pronounce the names, so that's why I really don't cover Wales. I did touch on it when I did the Severn Way, but that was only just because I was doing the whole length of the River Severn. But aside from that, I'm afraid I don't cover Wales on the channel, but there are lots of excellent YouTubers out there that are Welsh. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the subject of comments on the channel. Now, I do like to receive these, and I do like to reply to them, and of course they're a main feature here at the monthly vlog, and that will continue. However, so I can focus on production, which obviously takes time with the research, travelling, filming and editing and all that sort of thing, and the other things that are happening in my life, I do need to limit the amount of time that I'm going to be replying to comments. So what I'll be doing going forward, I'll be just setting aside just twice a week to reply to your comments. So when you write a comment on my channel, it may be 3 or 4 days before you get a reply back from me, but please bear with me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. It's just so I can rejig my time management, if you understand where I'm coming from. Now, what's going to be coming up over the channel during the month of November? Well, rather a lot. Apart from the aforementioned Portishead Railway Part 1, there will also be another one of my Secrets of the Thames and Severn Canal video. So not sure which part of the Thames and Severn, but that'll be happening next. I hope to do another one of my Lost Railway walks from North Somerset, or rather West Somerset. That was slated down for October, but too much wet weather to get that one done. There's going to be another collab we'll be doing, several YouTubers. That'll be happening recently, or coming up. It'll actually be happening over this weekend, so that'll be going out in November as well. So lots happening there. I'll be going to Cornwall as well over the next few days to do something on a preserved line there with my daughter, so look out for that. And I've still got another video to edit from my recent trip to the county of Devon. So lots happening on West Country Wanderings in the month of November. Well, I've just come round to this delightful location. I'm in the shopping village. This here behind me is the River Wylye. Remember, the Wylye meets up with the Nadder here, or rather just over the other side of the road there, the A30, in Wilton Park. Now, at this point, I am slightly confused because you have the shopping village here, beautiful courtyard. I'll insert some footage of that now, really nice coffee shop, which I probably will, after I finish filming and talking to you guys and gals, I'll probably nip in there for another shot of coffee before I catch my bus back to Salisbury. Next to the shopping village is a factory, and it looks quite new, and it's called, yes, Wilton Carpets. New font, new signage. Has it reopened? I can't find anything online, so I'll probably need to do some more digging online when I get home and do some editing. So it looks like they are manufacturing carpets again here in the town of Wiltshire, or Wilton even, in Wiltshire, and they have an outlet centre or shop next door to it as well, so offcuts, that sort of thing. So I think that's great that they're manufacturing it again, so I wasn't aware of that, so that's really good. Anyway, what was the next video that landed on my channel for the month of October? Is this the most beautiful village in Devon? Well, I let you decide that one. The village concerned though was the village of Newton Ferrers in the South Hams part of South Devon. I find it beautiful. I've used to visit many times when I was living in Plymouth before I moved to South Milton, more about which in a bit. But yeah, it's a fantastic place. It's really good to see your comments on that. a few of you actually been there, which is great. If you hadn't and want to go there, which is also equally great. And of course, is what this channel is all about. On that video, I had a great comment from Gary and Julie Smith. Great to hear from you, Gary and Julie. A lovely place. You've given us many ideas of where to visit, and we intend to make the most of some of the places you've shown to us. Thanks. Thank you very much for your comment there. So yeah, that's kind of what the channel is all about, showing you places that you may want to go to explore for yourselves. Not unlike the town of Wilton here in Wiltshire today. And the next one was another one in my Devon Railway Discoveries series, the 7th one in that one, it's an occasional series. And this time, while I was down in Devon, I did an explore of the Primrose Line. It was actually called the Primrose Line retrospectively, so it wasn't known as that when the railway was opening and running from the village of South Brent down to the lovely town of Kingsbridge. Incidentally, I've got a video coming up in November taking you around that very town of Kingsbridge. I had a great comment on that video from Donna Thai Bossy Guy, who lives in Canada, runs her own YouTube channel, and again I'll drop a link to her channel in the description of today's video. Donna writes, I enjoyed seeing the variety of bridges and tunnels that the railway line travelled through. The brickwork on many of them is lovely. I also enjoyed the story of the train taking the refuge in the tunnel during the bombing. Great thinking on the driver's part. Indeed it was, Donna, and thank you very much if you watched that video and if you commented on it too. Much appreciated. Thanks, Donna. Well, the sun really has come out, so this is nice ending to our monthly vlog today here in Wilton. A couple more videos to tell you about. Nice seeing that cygnet there as well. It's kind of going against the flow, but I think he's just nibbling up some of the reeds, and the grass is just on the edge of it there. It's a delightful thing to see. I did another Stroudwater and Thames and Severn Canals update, number 17 recently. Update on that. I had a comment from Malcolm Richardson. Thank you, Malcolm. It's good to see the restored parts of the Stroudwater becoming a hub for community life. My first Thames and Severn Canal encounter was at Smerrill. Now that's really interesting if you've seen that update, because I showed you where the aqueduct was in that video. On the A429 near the village of Kemble, my attention was drawn to the high embankment, which I later learned was the aqueduct. The restoration is a visionary project which deserves all of our support. Amen to that, Malcolm. Thanks very much for your comment. Then went over to Swindon and met up with Louise. Did that a few weeks ago. It was actually done in early September. One of my short bites again. I decided to do this one a little bit different. It's all grainy, black and white, high contrast photographs taking you around Steam with those mannequins and set pieces like the parts place where they issued the parts to the people who need them in the workshop, and the foundry and the office. There was so much there, and the parcels bay, Kemble signal box. It was absolutely tremendous place. If you've never been to Steam in Swindon, you like my railway scene series, you'll absolutely love it. And a comment on that from Louise, who was with me on that day from Southwest Sundays. Lovely to watch this and remember the fantastic day at the museum we had together. I liked the black and white photography. Yes, quite a few commented on that. Thanks very much for that, Louise, and it was a very enjoyable day, so thanks for that. And Louise actually did a separate video of Steam in Swindon, different one to mine. I really loved her take on it as well. So you get two YouTubers, you get two completely different takes on a day in a particular area. I had another comment on that though from Caroline, who lives close to where I live in Gloucestershire, and she writes, my former neighbour's mum used to work for George Churchward at his GWR house in Swindon. Yes, a prominent person in GWR. And yeah, so that's fantastic. But it actually was like, I think it was like a house person looking after George and presumably like cleaning and tidying up his house there in Swindon. That's a great comment there, Caroline. Thank you very much for that. And finally, for this month, I had a video which went up just a couple of days ago, and it was titled, rather mysteriously, I used to live here. Well, no mystery about it. It was actually in one of my Devon series from the village of South Milton, again in the South Hams, and a comment on that from Darren, who runs a channel called Somerset Man Walking. Great channel. Check that out. Put a description and a link to Darren's channel in the description of today's video. Darren writes, I can tell how much you enjoyed being there. A trip down memory lane. Even on a wet and windy day, this place seems rather special. Thank you very much, Darren. And thank you if you watched any of my videos during the month of October. Hopefully you'll watch something during the course of November. And particularly thank you if you commented, liked, shared, or if you're a new subscriber here on West Country Wanderings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to West Country Wanderings. Until next time on the channel, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and hope to see you soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.